So this is Baruch Fleischman, and after reading Aryeh Kaplan, who's really giving us an overview of the 4,000 years of Jew, what it means to be a Jew, and then coming to Rabbi Mimran, who's concerned about where our mentality is in the world in terms of directing ourselves towards the neshamas which are within us, which is a struggle. This is what we're trying to get accomplished. Now we come over here to Jewish astrology, a cosmic science. Torah, Talmud, and Zohar works on spiritual astrology. This is a Jewish point of view. It's purely, completely Jewish. And so we're going to come and see exactly what Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg has to say as we continue on in his discussion. Really of what we're dealing with is what they call divination, which is finding a spiritual path to power, personal power. It is good for a man not to do all these works of divinations. He said, because the Torah forbids us from divining, like it says, there shall not be found among you one who causes his sons and daughters to pass through the fire. This is Moloch worshiping. One who practices divinations, an astrologer, one who reads omens, a sorcerer, or an animal charmer, one who inquires of the Ov or Yuduni, one who consults the dead. There we go. And you will see all these works are called divinations. Now the question is that we're dealing with Jewish astrology, and how Jewish astrology, or that is astrology itself, fits into Judaism. And over here in this pasuk, and what we're saying over here, I think it came from Deuteronomy. There was a reference to it, but I don't see it right now. He says all of these works are called divinations. But here we have a general rule not to practice divination. And then the details, which are astrologers, omens, and which are astrologer, omens, talking to the dead, etc. And you can't judge only on the detail. Now, that's what he's saying is a way to understand it just because the name is there. And can you only say that these specific things which have been mentioned in the text have been forbidden under the category of divination and nothing else? The rabbis had a rule that when there is a particular rule, and he's explaining this again, like one who causes his children to pass through the fire, for example, followed by a general rule which says no divination. And then again, lists particular rules like no onain or astrologer, etc. The general rule, the divination, only contains these listed particulars, but no other particulars. Now, you might want to go over that again, but it's called klal uprat. It's called prat uklal uprat in Hebrew. So, according to Rabbi Avraham, the definitions above exclude astrology. For the things which are mentioned here are things of people. There are things of people who supplicate the planets and not Jewish astrology. Proof for you that divination is a general rule which encompasses all the details is found in the use of the quote above, where it lists as forbidden one who inquires of Ov or Yuduni. These are different ways of bringing back the spirits of the dead. What do we call this? A seance. It particularly uses the word inquiring of Ov and Yuduni, and yet in the book of Shmuel, that's Samuel, it says that, but the woman said to him, surely you know what Saul has done, that he has eliminated the necromancers and the diviners of the Ov Yuduni from the land. Here in the book of Shmuel, we use the word diviner in describing the Ov Yuduni and not the word inquirer. So what's a diviner versus an inquirer? So he says, as said in Deuteronomy, to teach you that all of these particular words are included in the general forbidden category of divining. That these are arts that are forbidden are called divinations. So in other words, divining in the Ov Yuduni and inquiring the Ov Yuduni has the same meaning. And the word diviner could be used as a general rule concerning all divinations listing in verse 18:10 in Deuteronomy. And there it excludes astrology. Now, this is a little bit obscure for me, but that's what he says. Another proof, so what we're doing once again is trying to show you the difference between Jewish astrology. And even when you see the words astrology mentioned, Another proof from Talmud, he says, is that you find that the names mentioned in Deuteronomy 18:10 are clearly mentioned by our rabbis, may they be blessed, in the tractate Sanhedrin. He said each one what he does and what his work is, and they don't mention among these diviners because they don't mention among these diviners because there's a general rule which includes all of them. So this second proof is that in tractate Sanhedrin, the group of forbidden diviners is listed, and yet it doesn't mention diviners as such. So in other words, it's a group. So there's a proof that the word divination is a general description, not a specific one, and therefore it is a general rule. So they said in Sanhedrin about the term ma'onen. What's in a ma'onen? Which is loosely translated as astrologer. He says ma'onen has to do with, onen, or noah, has to do with timing, time, cycles. Rabbi Akiva said that this is one who fixes periods and hours. This is a person who designates certain times and certain moments. Because the Hebrew word ma'onen comes from the word oina, which means a season or a period of time. A season means, for example, today is a nice day to go out, tomorrow will be a fine day to engage in business, or buy anything to profit from, or before the 17th year, the wheat is good quality, uproot, that is, not harbor the beans so that they don't go bad and will not spoil. No. These people who fix periods and hours rely on their experience, which they experienced in their lifetime, and what they learned from it. So this is not astrology. They didn't learn this from the wisdom of the movement of the constellations, and not from the wisdom of the movement of the planets, because they didn't give importance to one day of the week over another. If Monday this week is good for something, it doesn't mean that Monday next week will be also good. It's possible that next Monday could be dangerous. Similarly, the 7th year is not always good for the wheat crop. Not every year has the same according to the astrologers. The Ma'onim, according to Rabbi Akiva, treats the days and years in the same way always, and because of this, it was said that the Ma'onim's artistry does not always go along with the vision of the constellations, not according to the wisdom of the planets. Now, this is where it was supposed to be, I think. Let me just check it again and see what's up. Okay, let's go on. So here you see that these things are particulars and not general categories. He continues with showing that particulars are not generalities. They described in Sanhedrin who is the reader of omens. It says, bread fell from his mouth, his staff from his hand, the deer stopped in the path, and the snake is on his right, and a fox is on his left. Using these signs to divine. And further they say, don't make an omen. And the rabbis say, don't read omens. For example, those that read omens using the huldot in birds, a huldot is some kind of an animal. And he says, I'm not sure which. They speak about what will happen in the world according to what they see in signs from the planets and animals and birds. Indian astrology seems to use these things. They are big on omens. An Indian astrologer could be reading one's horoscope and ask you a question on pregnancy. And while doing it, sees two birds that come along, and then one bird flies away, and then he might say that this is an omen. You are going to have twins, and one of them is going to die. Or something. And this is called using omens. And again, this is not based on the laws of astrology, but is something different and additional and based on the law of omens. So the rabbis didn't like people using that, and it is forbidden. This art is found in the world today, mainly among sailors and farmers. They are God-fearing people because their occupation is very much dependent on the environment, because the sea must have been sometimes very dangerous back 2,000 years ago, and the farmers need rain. Without rain, the best farmers in the world can't grow crops, so they always look for signs from the heavens, like those who say if the moon on the first or the second day of the month has a black ring around it, It's a sign of much rain during that month, and similar to a black ring surrounding the moon. If the sun shines bright and the air that surrounds it is red, there will be heavy winds from the direction where the red air appears. Similar to this is one saying things like this concerning any of the 7 planets or the bright planets, and also one saying the voice of the raven at night and the voice of the chickens at the beginning of the night testify to rain, and the hulda who lifts up its voice and dances testifies to cold weather, and in other signs like these are the ways of the readers of omens from birds and the planets. So he says, now, where was what? Now Rabbi Abraham goes on to sorcerers listed in Tractate Sanhedrin. He says, sorcerers are one who do a deed and didn't just hold on to the eyes. Now, this concept of holding on to the eyes, I do not know what it means. And what the sorcerers do, we already explained above. They know when different powers are found in the world, and also the Hartumim, who gather herbs and trees at specific times. These are also deeds and not just holding the eyes. Now, I'm not sure what holding the eyes is. There used to be a Reverend Moon who had a big following in Miami. They came to fill up the stadium, and they came, and this person was able to put you in a certain kind of a trance and teach you, I guess, how to get into that trance. So I met a couple of these people, and I'm just working on the ideas of holding your eyes. And one of the things that they do is they look intensely as they are talking to you. They're trying to sell you something, or their ideas is to try to hold your eyes. Try to get your eyes to focus on their eyes, and they can hold you that way, and then they can start speaking to you. So that's my experience. Maybe that's what he's talking about. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kolo, Reb Yaakov Kronenberg, Jewish Astrology.